Good afternoon. Today we are at Starve Hollow State Recreation Area. This is the map. Um, why are we even here? This is part of our very rugged trail series. I think I said before there is 5 trails in the state park system in Indiana that are considered very rugged. This is Trail 3 at Starve Hollow. Last week we did Trail 2 at Shade State Park. In December we did Trail 2 of Clifty Falls, so that's 3. And then there are 2 trails at Turkey Run State Park, Trails 9 and 3, which are rated as very rugged. We've spent a lot of time at Turkey Run, so I'm not going back there right away. This is a place I've never been before. You could see I pulled out my map because I had zero idea how to read the trail markers for this. And it turns out that the map calls this the blue line. And so I'm looking for these blue blazes on the trees. What in the blue blazes am I looking for? There we go. So anyway, this is very rugged. Well, I'm not saying that. The state says that. So it looks just like a woods trail. I think I'm just bopping along here pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. And this trail gets kind of vertical. And after a minute here, I start breathing heavy. My footsteps get slow. I take a break. Jiminy Christmas, am I out of shape? But just because it's steep, does that make it very rugged? I don't know. I guess it depends on who's rating the trail. So you make your own decision on that. There you go, taking a breather. For me, just because it's steep does not mean it's very rugged. It just means it's steep and someone needs to get their cardio going a little better. But anyway, Starve Hollow. I found so little information on this area, it's not even funny. What did I find? I found a Wikipedia page that says the Starve Hollow State Recreation Area is a state recreation area in Valonia, I don't know, Indiana, and that it's 280 acres. It was created from part of the larger Jackson, Washington State Forest. Not gonna lie, did not know we had a Jackson, Washington State Forest in Indiana. I obviously need to get out more. It's based around Starve Hollow Lake. It is very shallow as a result of sediment entering the lake from nearby fields. Um, there's a lot of aquatic vegetation such as lily pads and cattails that cover much of the lake. I know that I've read a warning on the page that they are suffering from blue-green algae, so you should not drink the water. Um, the lake is stocked with largemouth bass, bluegill, sunfish, as well as channel catfish. Look at me, I'm barely making it up this hill. Still doesn't make it very rugged, just makes it very steep. Surrounding hardwood forests contain white-tailed deer, ruffed grouse, eastern wild turkey, rabbit, quail, dove, squirrel, fox, coyote, and raccoon, as well as many non-game species. Bald eagles have been seen during the winter in recent years when the lake is ice-free. I can't believe they didn't talk about anything about. Ooh, I just fell down a little. That's okay. That's not even a real fall. They don't talk about turkey vultures because I guarantee there's turkey vultures here. But anyway, so this is Starve Hollow State Recreation Area. It does have a pretty nice looking campground. The campground is huge. It seemed like that was the main focus of this place was the campground. Where is it? It is in Jackson County, Indiana. Do you know anything about Jackson County, Indiana? Do you want to know anything about Jackson County, Indiana? I don't know. Um, it is a county in Indiana. And your gateway to adventure starts at the Jackson County Visitor Center. Um, there's looks like there's some stuff. It's got a bunch of small towns. Probably the most well known would be Seymour. And Jiminy Christmas, I certainly hope you are familiar with Seymour, Indiana, if you're of my age. So, my age, Gen X, you should be familiar with Seymour, Indiana. Seymour and Gary, Indiana both share something in common for as far as famous people. Everyone knows that Michael Jackson and the Jackson Five, well, all the Jacksons were born in Gary, Indiana, and Seymour is where John Mellencamp was born. So, first he was John Cougar, and then he was John Cougar Mellencamp, and now he's just John Mellencamp. So, but this is where he was from, Seymour. It's a small town. I've seen smaller, but it's still, that's what it is known for. Um, what do I got coming up here? This is just a nice even trail here. Now, one of the things that this area talks about is Knobstone Glade. There are, I think, two Knobstone Glade nature preserves on this in this park. One of them on this trail. I got no idea. I know I passed through it. I don't know where it was. This could be a glade. I think a glade is identified. Does it say? It is, they are forest openings with sparse herbaceous vegetation growing on and around bedrock outcroppings. Stunted, gnarled-looking chestnut and blackjack oaks grow in and around these openings along with scattered low bush blueberries. Ooh, my wife would love it if I showed up here and there were blueberries and she could raid the blueberries. Ours die every year. We get like 4 blueberries off our plants and then they just die. So, and we've done this for I think 3 years now, and we just did it again, bought a new blueberry bush. Anyway, um, that lowbush blueberry is one of the few shrubby species found in the glades. Dry, open conditions support some prairie plants as well. I got news. If you look at my lens, it started off dry, but I'm getting rained on. Did I prepare for this today? Because typically I don't prepare. My idea when it starts to rain is I just get wet. So we'll see how I did. Ooh, what is this? Look at that. So these were all over the place during this trail today. And I started wondering what they are. And I know what I call them. And I don't know if I'm correct though. And there's different things. I didn't know there were so many gross spider webby things out in the wild. Here is where I've decided the rain is enough and I'm bringing in my plan B. So I wear a backpack in the summer, and today, am I going to show it? I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm walking, and here it comes. I brought my umbrella. I'm going to be quiet here. Can you hear it? It is raining. It is raining quite well. Turns out hiking in an enclosed area like this is difficult with an umbrella. You can see how narrow this trail is, and I keep having to move the stupid thing, and oh, it was just a nightmare. So anyway, back to our webby caterpillar things. And I've always known tent caterpillars. Those are the things that look like spider webs in the trees to me. And then last year, my wife introduced me to bagworms. And she kept saying, well, there's bagworms. And I'm like, are you sure? Don't you mean tent caterpillars? And it turns out she did not mean tent caterpillars. And looking this up, there's also a thing called webworms. And I'm like so grossed out right now. But anyway, so what did we see there? And I know, and maybe you already know as well. But so we'll start with bagworms. And bagworms, um, bagworms camouflage themselves. And she would say, we have these trees in the backyard. What are they called? Oh, I forget. They're those tall, skinny things that are kind of evergreen, okay? And what these bagworms do is they wrap, they pull off the little evergreen pieces off these trees and wrap it around themselves. And so it just looks like a piece of the tree. But you can see them wiggling. and it's really gross. And what I ended up doing is having to cut all these individual bags off. Oh, wait, let's hang on here a sec. I'm just going to be quiet. Well, whoops.
Slippery.
And there goes the umbrella. Anyway, no harm done. I did have to stop here and restow my shoelaces, but that's okay. But anyway, so the only way to get rid of these things is to cut them off. I tossed them all in the fire, but they are horrible. They have decimated my trees. There's a second thing. I should have taken a picture of that. Maybe I still would. Will. They have a second thing called the fall webworm, and it makes its appearance at the end of the summer and into fall. So we're in spring. This was last weekend, so it would have been April 18th. So we're in the spring. So I don't think fall webworm is the thing. Um, their tree of choice is one that produces fruit. They may be black, yellow, and white, yellow in color or black. They're small and markings on them are typically hard to see without the help of a macro lens camera. They are easily taken care of with a long stick or pole. Simply pull down the web, which will leave the worms exposed to birds and insects. Um, you can spray. I don't typically spray around my house because we're on a well and I don't want poison getting into my water. Overall, the fall webworms, they look scary, but they don't do anything bad to your trees. Which leaves us to the eastern tent caterpillar. And I believe that's what we had here. We had the eastern tent caterpillar. They are oftentimes confused with the fall webworm, although there are a few major differences. You can identify them by the location their web is spun and coloring. The caterpillars form webs in the crotches of trees, which is where we saw that web. The caterpillars are traditionally black and gold or white stripe, traditionally black with a gold or white stripe down their back. They are larger in size, like a regular caterpillar. Um, they create an egg mass. This is typically black with white spots in which the caterpillars hatch from. I am getting itchy talking about this. Um, If seen before hatching in the spring, they can be removed from the tree before suffering from an infestation. If you don't happen to spot them until they go all Bob the Builder and begin the web building, you have a few options. One is to pull the web down with a long stick, shake the caterpillars loose, and step on them. The other is to clip that section of the tree down and burn it in a safe designated area. Do not try and light the tree on fire or light the web on fire while it's still in the tree. Okay? Yes, you can spray. So, tent caterpillars, I think, is what we had there. I think we got some more wildlife coming up here. One that I don't think is quite as disgusting. And there it goes. There it goes. Did you see it? It in my camera, it's harder to see. It was actually quite close to me, and it was a big old turkey vulture, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So next, we'll talk a little about turkey vultures. All right, so this is one of my favorite cartoons about turkey vultures because it tells only the truth. Turkey vultures, oh my gosh, they are kind of weird. Um, you've seen them. I know you've seen them. So often they are mistaken for other birds. But turkey vultures, one of the things they have like white triangles on the bottom of their wings, and when they're soaring, they're kind of wobbly. And it's almost like they can't figure it out. Oh, we'll talk about turkey vultures again in a minute. This, I don't know where to go from here. There's my blue mark, right? That looks like it's an arrow pointing to the left. I don't know. Um, do I go around the other side? I should. I'm trying to. This is like in Dungeons and Dragons. You have to make a decision, right? And And so I go down here. Should I go to the right? Should I go to the left? Ooh, that looks like there's an arrow there that tells me to go down that way. So maybe that's the way we should go. This has promises. This is promising for a very rugged trail because it's it's not very well made up. Now, I'm used to a lot of trails in Indiana follow stream beds. So here we go. It's it's been raining. I don't care to get my feet all that wet. Yes, I'm kind of so look at this. I'm having second thoughts already. I'm going back to look again. No, no, is it okay? Yeah, I guess I'm all in now. All in. Oh yeah, there's a pool. I think I found some frogs. Do I want to try? How am I going to go? And you can see how much rain is on the surface of that pool. And this is pretty rough. And it looks like there's been a lot of heavy water coming down here recently. So, maybe this trail got washed away a little bit. I'm not sure. But I'm going to keep going. It's the widest trail I've been on all day. I'm not touching the tick leaves, which, spoiler alert, I don't believe I got infested with any ticks. Maybe that's why I feel so crappy lately. I got ticks. No, I don't have any ticks. Yeah. But, so I'm still going. I am persevering. I am all in on this. It is a rough trail. Very rugged. That's what we're here for, right? Very rugged. Hmm. Is this the one? I don't know. I continue on this thing forever. Who is honking their horn at me out there? And now it stopped. That's good. So this looks better. It's less of a pool, but it doesn't look like a trail, does it? It, mm, eh. Mm. Am I going to keep going? How big of a fool am I? I'm pretty much of a big fool. I'm keeping going. At some point, I have to understand that there has been no blue blazes on these trees. And you can usually see the next one from the one you just passed. How long am I going to keep this going? Is this it? Is this the end? I'm still going. Idiot. Ooh, that looks better up there. No, it doesn't. I'm fooling myself. How long have I been doing this? 5 minutes? Something like that? No, it can't be 5 minutes. 5 minutes ago was when I saw the turkey vulture. Maybe 4 minutes I've been going. That doesn't. There's no trail up there. Is there? There's no trail up there. I can't believe how long I kept this going. I mean, I have hindsight on my back now. Ooh, this is nice and dry anyway, but there's no trail. Here, I finally got a clue. I'm looking around. Where's the blue marks on the trees? You big dummy. But I'm still going. Big dummy. No wonder this took an hour. This trail is 2 miles. Whoop, there we go. So I'm back at the decision tree. So if the left was wrong, the right is obviously correct. Right? Right is right. So I'm going to go down the stream this way this time. The good news is I don't stick on this one quite as long. Because, why do I give out the spoilers? I don't know. This is the wrong way as well. I'm sitting here, and this is a nice little meandering stream. Well, it was at some point, because you can see the meanders there. And which is always fun. Water doesn't like to flow in a straight line in nature. It kind of meanders like a snake moves sometimes. And look, is this it? Is this where I figure it out? Yes, as I look around going, where's the blue mark? Where's the blue mark? Where in blue blazes is the blue mark? How many times am I going to say blue blazes? I don't know. I think this might be where I figure it out. Yeah, this is not the trail. I At this point I considered going back the way I came and hiking this from the other direction, but I'm getting kind of wet. My feet are soaking wet. So, hey, I'm back at the decision tree and I can there's a trail right there. And I can't believe it was right there. And there's a little blue mark on that log on the ground, which I saw when I went to the trail to the right, but I figured it was nothing. So anyway, we're back on the trail now. Yes, that was, first time at this place. I don't know. I got no excuse. But anyway, we were talking about turkey vultures. Turkey vultures are kind of cool. Um, Turkey vultures typically feed off of carrion, so that is dead animals. And you're an animal, so if you die out in the woods and there's turkey vultures around, you're a big dinner for some turkey vultures. Um, what are they good for? They clean up the countryside for us. So they are used to living near humans and they will snack off of what you leave. You often see them in farm fields or hanging out next to the road, and they are very large. Okay, so cool facts about the turkey vulture. And some of these were in my cartoon, but the turkey vulture uses its sense of smell to locate carrion. The part of its brain responsible for processing smells is particularly large compared to other birds. Its heightened ability to detect odors, it can detect just a few parts per trillion, allows it to find dead animals below a forest canopy. The turkey vulture maintains stability and lift at low altitudes by holding its wings up in a slight dihedral, which is a V shape. If you're into RC planes, radio control planes, then you have to build in a little dihedral into your wing. Otherwise, it gets a little uncontrollable. And they teeter from side to side while flying. They fly low to the ground to pick up the scents of dead animals. And I've seen hundreds of these things in all these parks. Um, Vultures in the Americas look a lot like vultures in Europe, Asia, and Africa, with broad wings, bare heads, and the habit of eating dead meat. But surprisingly, they're in different taxonomic orders, meaning they're not particularly closely related. They evolved many of the same features as they exploited the same kinds of resources in different parts of the planet. This process is known as convergent evolution. The word vulture, yeah, there's buzzards as well. Okay, I got that coming up. So the word vulture likely comes from the Latin valere. Do we say all the letters in Latin? I don't know. I never took Latin. This means to pluck or tear. Its scientific name, Cathartes ora, is far more pleasant. It means either golden purifier or purifying breeze. So that turkey vulture is purifying the breeze. There you go. How about this one? As a defense mechanism, turkey vultures may vomit on a bird, animal, or human that gets too close. Considering what they eat, this can be a powerful weapon. In cowboy movies, the bad guy usually threatens to leave the hero in the desert for the buzzards, meaning the vultures. Although buzzard is a colloquial term for a vulture in the US, the same word applies to several hawks in Europe. In fact, the rough-legged buzzard of Europe is the same species as the rough-legged hawk of North America. So there you go. Here's another good one for you. When it's hot outside, turkey vultures will defecate on their feet to cool off. You know what defecate means. It involves poo. Okay, so just remember, when you're super hot in the summer, it's okay to poop on your own feet. All right. The turkey vulture stomach acid is extremely acidic, so turkey vultures can digest just about anything. This also allows them to eat carcasses tainted with anthrax, tuberculosis, and rabies without getting sick. By taking care of the carrion, vultures provide an essential service for the health of our ecosystems. Without them, carcasses would accumulate and diseases would spread from rotting flesh. Ugh. The oldest recorded turkey vulture was at least 23 years, 4 months old when it was seen in California in 2019, the same state where it was banded in 1997. So, turkey vultures. If you go and look for them, I know when I learned most about turkey vultures was at the Grand Canyon a few years back because they had introduced California condors in the area and we were trying to identify them. And they are so very close in appearance, except the turkey vulture has more white under its wings and it kind of goes to the whole width of the wing, whereas the California condor is more defined. And the California condor is more majestic. I don't want to, I'm going to say majestic, even though maybe not. But remember, we said that the turkey vulture kind of teeters when it flies. So the California condor does not do that. All right, let's see what we got next. Right now, we are still this. So much of this looks very much the same, and you can tell that I double speeded most of this video up because I hate to say it, for me, there's just not a whole lot interesting here. There are some nice stream crossings while we got here, but I prefer the rocky stuff that we've been to previously. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm soaking wet by this time. I don't know how 2 videos in a row I got soaking wet recording this stuff. I will give you a preview of today. Today we went out, my wife and I, and it did not rain. So you'll get to see that probably next week. But so much of this is it looks all very similar, this whole trail. And I don't want to say that I'm not all that impressed, but I'm not all that impressed. But was it very rugged? Some of it was slippery. I think I just slipped going up this hole, or excuse me, this hill. But I think just some easy trail maintenance would make this a lot less rugged feeling. And by trail maintenance, I mean come out here and widen a trail, whether it's with a weed whip or some loppers or some shears or something. Get some of those tiny, shrubby things out of the trail and then hit it with a leaf blower or a rake. You know, I don't know if this is considered a wilderness area. Um, I don't think the recreational area itself is, but I don't know if the Knobstone Glades are considered wilderness. I'm fairly certain we're out of any glade here. But, you know, if you have a rake, you don't have to carry gas with you, and a rake is pretty light. I've worked for the Park Service, the National Park Service previously, and have been out on trails doing trail maintenance with hand tools. Does it suck? Yeah, but I also got paid for walking around in national parks, hiking trails. I mean, right now I'm doing it for free. It's costing me money because I got to pay to, well, I didn't pay to get in here because I got here early and I have an annual pass. So, but, but annual pass costs money even though it was a gift from my loving sister. But of course I got her an annual pass as well. So, you know, but, I still drove down here. What was it, an hour and a half? Got rained on a lot. Um, couldn't find a bathroom when I got here. That was too much information. But I'm used to there being some sort of bathroom at the beginning of the trail. This place, I believe, only had bathrooms around the campground, and so if it was an emergency, I would have gone there. But I wasn't all that sure if, since I'm not a camper, if that was what they'd appreciate. Do I look like I got lost here, or is it just a steep downhill? I tend to I worry more about going downhill because that's where you can fall. Or did I just stop. You know what it is? I'm not going any faster or slower. I just stopped the double speed because this is actually something interesting on the trail, in my opinion. And maybe a little more into the spring, we'll get more wildflowers out, and that will be interesting. But I'm sure some people find this amazingly interesting. For me, it was kind of a dud. And I shouldn't say that because, we get so little wild area that it feels like people are trying to take this kind of place away from us all the time. And so I shouldn't complain about it when we got it. But anyway, all right. I got to see what I want to talk to you about next. So I'm going to take a break for a second. Oop, I'm back up to double speed, dodging my umbrella. All right, I think I said that this recreation area was in Valonia. I'm calling it Valonia. It's Vallonia. I guess it could be Valonia, but then I figured it'd have two N's. Anyway, it is in Jackson County, Indiana. It was an 18th century French settlement and a 19th century American frontier fortification known as Fort Valonia. As of the 2020 census, Valonia has a population of, wait for it, 379 people. Is it the smallest town I've ever been to? No. Is it smaller than Seymour? Which is, I was born in a small town. Wait, let me go look. I'll be right back. There you go. So, the small town John Mellencamp was born in, population at the 2020 census, 21,569. So it has more than 21,000 more residents than Valonia. So Fort Valonia was a French settlement of the late 18th century and lay between the Muscatatuck, woo, that's a hard one to say, and the White River's East Fork. Um, but around 1810, hostilities began between the settlers and Native Americans. The Governor General William Henry Harrison, sounds familiar, ordered a fort built, as well as a number of other defensive structures, including a large stockade, garrison, blockhouses, and a spring to be built to protect the some 90 families in the area. Two companies of Indiana Rangers were stationed here during the War of 1812. Huff's Fort and Ketchum's Fort were two other fortifications, though not as large. Huff's Fort was said to be higher up than Valonia and Ketchum's still above. I don't know what that means. Maybe it means it's still there. I don't know. One of the companies of the Indiana Rangers was newly organized and set out to investigate claims of a Native American war party near Brownstown. Finding no war party, they returned to Fort Valonia, but one ranger rode ahead. He was ambushed by Native Americans and killed. The Rangers, in a panic, rode hard back to Fort Valonia, never stopping to help Sturgeon. Those Indiana Rangers, I can't believe they left a man behind. Five civilians finally left the fort to recover Sturgeon's body and buried it near the fort. When Major John Tipton arrived and learned of the Rangers' conduct, he assumed command of the fort and began routine drills of the two companies stationed at the fort. A later skirmish, known as the Battle of Tipton's Island, allowed the Rangers to prove their ability to engage in the Native Americans. I believe Fort Valonia is still there. I saw an old looking fort when I was on my way home, thought about stopping. It was raining, I was already wet, so I chose not to stop. Let me see. Does it say anything else? No, that's about it. What does Seymour say? Um, Seymour was originally inhabited by the Lenape Indians. Now we're using Indians. We had Native Americans in Valonia, and now we're using Indians. As they were moved west from their lands along the Delaware River Valley on the east coast of the 13 colonies. Anyway, we're getting fairly close to the end of this trail. And like I said, I think I said this is 2 miles. But to get to Trail 3, first you have to hike in on Trail 1, and then you have to hike part of half of Trail 2. So let me see. Trail 1 is half a mile, easy. They say easy, but most of it was flooded and looked like a stream. So, well, maybe not most of it, some of it. So there was a lot of dodging, getting feet wet. And then Trail 2 is rugged. I didn't find it that rugged. Um, it's zero point 0.7 miles, so half of that. You're about a mile in before you get to Trail 3, which is very rugged. And I'll ask you, you've seen most of this trail now. Does it look very rugged to you? I mean, yeah, there's some ups and downs, but I never had to scramble, which is my idea of a very rugged trail is I have to scramble. Um, I'll put the links in to my hikes at Mohonk Mountain House. It's a part one and part two. That was a 1 mile, they say it's a 1 mile trail that took me 2 hours. And and you'll see there was scrambling. That is what I measure this against. Okay, Mohonk Mountain House, the Labyrinth Trail, the Labyrinth Scramble they call it. Um, that is very rugged. Maybe we should have another one that just is extremely rugged. Is extremely more than very? Yeah, but I don't know who rates these things. We'll figure it out. But and then I don't have a video from Picacho Peak, but I think I talked about that last time. That's another trail that I've hiked that is very rugged. And here we are, back to where we started. So you'll notice I didn't pick up a lot of trash. I didn't bring my stick on this one because I knew I was going to be carrying my umbrella. Um, and so I didn't get my fingers down in between the spider webs and stuff. But, there's a little bit. Other stuff I saw on the trail, there's a nice little turtle. There's part of Trail 1 looking like a river. This is one of the cabins looking out at the lake. And then this is a little float being guarded by geese, so I didn't go onto it. And there's how wet my feet looked. Anyway, I hope you came along. I hope you had a good time. Next week, we're going to do Leonard Springs. So maybe I'll see you then. Bye bye.